Yeah, so that's the window stopper so that the children cannot go through the windows. So there's a lot of detail that we have to keep in mind. Automatically get $900 less, which is so beneficial.
So they only pay. Thank you for having us today to visit your kindergarten.
Yeah, no problem. It's my pleasure. I'm happy you guys are here.
Yeah. So can you start by introducing yourself and also your kindergarten?
Yeah, absolutely. So my name is Faith. I've been an ECE for over 5 years now. So I've worked in not-for-profit organizations before, a couple of other in-home daycares as well. I've helped out a friend here and there. And so in terms of children, I love not just being with children, but I love leading them in curriculum. I love setting up experiences and explorations for them, so that is my passion. How this all came about is actually because of the shortage of childcare.
Yes, that's
I
true.
came back from my maternity leave and unable to put my child in the daycare where I used to work at, which is very unfortunate. And so I decided, okay, maybe it's time for me to move forward. Actually, it was a friend of mine, who insisted. She was like, Faith, I have a space, a in-home daycare, and so she was actually the one I owe all of this to. She inspired me, but also because it was time to move forward.
How many kids you have right now?
I have 8 children.
Okay, for this whole kindergarten, right?
Yes, and so that is the maximum for any in-home childcare.
Oh, okay. Is it difficult to have a kindergarten like this, like to apply license or something like that? The procedure, is it difficult for you, like when you open?
50-50, I would say. So another thing about myself, I'm already an ECE instructor. So I work in a private college as well. And so in terms of some of the licensing, I'm already aware of. Whereas for someone who is starting from scratch, probably will need a little bit more support, will need a little bit more help and guidance. And also because of my friend who helped me through it, she made things so much easier. So you really need someone knowledgeable. So part of that knowledge I already had through teaching and through years of being in the field. But the other part is just mainly with the friend who guided me. And because you have to think about the city bylaws, you have to think about licensing, you have to think about the fire department as well. So safety is a big thing.
And also the population, right?
Absolutely,
Around the area, if you can have the kids come to your place.
Exactly. Well, we're very lucky here, I think, in terms of where we are at demographically. There's a lot of families in this area. We are in South Burnaby. There's a lot of families.
Like the young couple, right?
Yes,
here.
exactly.
Okay.
So usually they're the ones that I'm targeting. And this is such a nice location where we have at least 2-3 different schools within 5 kilometers. And so those children most likely the families will have another child and another child. And so that's what's been happening.
Yeah. So compare the bigger, daycare, like the parents of the kids. I think their main concern is about the safety, right?
Absolutely.
And what they can learn from the kindergarten or daycare. So compare the bigger size one, like they have over 50 or 100 students. What do you think? Like, what's your advantage they send their kids to your place?
I always tell families, different children have different needs. Some children thrive in a bigger environment. They thrive when there's a lot of stimulation that's been happening. But since I've worked in a bigger, I think over 200, 300 students in a bigger organization before, what has happened is...
you worked in that bigger organization before?
Yes, absolutely. And so sometimes just because there's more children and educators, safety is not always met. It's always a struggle. Educators also rotate. And so right now there's a big need for ECEs actually, which is something to take note of. Because of the big need of ECEs, sometimes like you'll have a regular educator and then 3 educators are on call, or you'll have only 2 and then the rest are just like on call. And so in terms of relationship, the children find it hard to build that relationship with adults, which is so important.
You mean the turnover?
The turnover is so high, whereas at least in a smaller daycare setting, even if there is a little bit of turnover, once in a while it's gonna happen, right? We get sick, someone decides to go for leave, right? It's not a big adjustment. And because there's only 8 children, it's easier to build a better, bigger relationship and connection with the other children and the families. Actually, during the summer, we had a family potluck. And all 8 of our families came.
So they know each other,
exactly,
right?
Exactly. And so families also need that community too.
So they have the tight, connection each other, and then their friends, their parents, kids and the parents, they can make the friends.
Exactly.
Both of or all of the family
exactly.
members.
Whereas in maybe in bigger organizations, they don't see each other.
They don't really they just go and leave, right?
Yes.
So your kindergarten provides the lunch, or?
Unfortunately, no. Currently, we are already in the talks about with licensing. There are a lot more layers to it if I do decide to have lunch. So one is obviously food safety. So that's number 1 priority, but it's just because it's another layer of having
So
to
you
go
mean
through.
the government has a very strict, the policy about the food, right?
Exactly. Well, because we have to think about food poisoning.
Yes, that too.
Salmonella, right? So making sure they're not contaminated. So many different things that.
Okay. So how do you make sure your place is safety?
Absolutely. So one is licensing, right? So we have to adhere to licensing regulations. So licensing is there to make sure that safety is top priority in everything. So we regularly check, for example, is this something that needs to be fixed? Is this something that needs to be covered, right?
Like the
exactly. The
or
tables,
chairs, right?
the outlets over there. There's a fireplace here. We need to make sure that the children cannot push, right? And so sometimes it's being creative.
How about like the window?
You can see we have something, because we're on the top floor, we have something called window stoppers right there. So this is the window stopper. So that's the window stopper, so that the children cannot go through the windows easily. So those ones, it takes, I think, a lot of detail.
And I think there is a gate there. They cannot open it, right?
Absolutely. And we have safety locks as well, like this. Any knobs that they can turn, we either take it off or we have to cover it somehow. All of the edges here.
So this
have
one
to be
is
rounded. If it's not rounded, we put something like this. So there's a lot of detail that we have to keep in mind as well. And even with the toys that we have, we try not to have anything with battery, just because when it gets wet, they could drain or something like that. And so even for this one, since we take children that are younger than 12 months, like they're fenced off for their own safety from other children, although they love playing, but sometimes they need their own space. And even the carpets, as you can see.
And they have the sleep.
They have a separate nap room. That's correct.
So every detail you must,
you must think about. So
and if they meet the government requirements.
Exactly.
So how often they come to check?
Every year at least. So but sometimes they may need to come more often. So
they just walk in to check, or they need to make an appointment?
No, they come randomly. That's right.
So you must be prepared all the time.
So we try our best, and also it's good to have educators, other educators, to say, okay, this one needs this one needs that.
So how many educators, including you, in this place?
I try to have 3 at least. So I have a full-timer, a part-timer, and then I consider myself the other full-timer. But sometimes I need to take a step away. Or it's also nice that if somebody else is sick, somebody is away, I can
be the
fill in.
backup.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
Okay. Do you plan like to have a franchise, or you want to develop your kindergarten coming bigger, or?
Yeah, it's a dream, right?
Yeah,
Who
yeah.
wouldn't want that? And
Yeah.
especially right now with, I have educators who are asking, okay, is it something that I can be sponsored with, right? I cannot do that as an in-home childcare.
You still have all of the license, I can see.
Absolutely, yeah. When you take the courses for it and you complete all the courses, then you get the certifications. But there's a lot more that you have to think about as well.
If you have the bigger size, the place, and you can sponsor, and you can also attract more.
I can have a bigger space.
Yeah.
For all of this, we can have different rooms, right?
Yeah,
For
yes.
the setup, whatever the different children needs are. We can serve lunch if we want, right?
Yeah,
because it'll be
that's true.
easier to have a commercial kitchen instead
Yeah.
of just our personal kitchen. It'll be easier to hire more educators as backup, so we don't have to think about. And every single day, I get calls. Do you have a spot? Do you have space for my child? Is there a space available? So there's definitely a big need.
Yeah, so that's a potential.
Yes,
still.
absolutely. So there's lots of potential for bigger, but it's money.
Yeah,
It's a
that's
lot
true.
of money, but also it's having a good relationship with the city. So
Yes.
the cities dictate the zonings, the bylaws, and so that's just the first step. But you also need to find a space. You also need to find a location that's suitable.
Yeah, I just heard it's very difficult to find
Very
the
difficult
place.
now
Yeah.
nowadays because most of the spaces that is there's nothing there yet. The government wants to put more residential areas just because, well, we need more homes as
Yeah,
well,
yeah.
right? But having a commercial space that you can build from the ground up has been very, very tricky.
Yes, and I know they probably around 1 year, right?
Yeah,
The
minimum.
whole- yeah,
Yes.
so if you want to get the bigger size, you need to prepare in advance.
There's
yeah.
a lot of preparation.
Yeah.
There's a lot of talks, absolutely.
Yes, yes. So what government subsidies did you apply when you opened this kindergarten?
Yeah, so creating funding that is provided to daycare owners who are wanting to open up a space. So once you become licensed, they will give you, from what I recall, it was $500 per space. So since I had 8 children, I was given at least 5,000. If I'm not
4,000.
4,000. Sorry,
Yeah. 4,000.
it's been quite a while. Yes. But they do give you that initiative because they want you to create more spaces, or they want more daycare owners, daycares
That's
to be
just
built.
for 1 year or just one time?
That's a one-time payment
just a
for
one-time.
creating a
Okay.
daycare and having these spaces. And then the next one is called CCFRI, so Child Care Fee Reduction Initiative. So the fee reduction is for families. So the CCFRI, once you opt into that, it allows the government to give families at least $900 from what I charge. So for example, if I am charging $2,000 for an infant, then they automatically, because I'm opted in CCFRI, the families automatically get $900 less.
Oh,
Which
okay.
is so beneficial.
So they only
yes.
pay 1,100, right?
Yes, yes. So that's just the first stream of subsidy.
Yeah.
And luckily, there's also something called ACCB, which is the Affordable Childcare Benefit. So that one is a little bit tricky because that one is based off of income. So if you make less than $111,000 per year as spousal income, then you can qualify for that. So it depends. You would have to submit some paperwork to the government. I would have to submit submit some paperwork to the government, and then they come to a conclusion by checking the income from last year, if your child is coming this year. So they check the income from last year, and then from there they're able to say, okay, well, I can give you this much.
Okay.
Yeah, and that will be monthly.
Wow, that's good. A lot.
It is.
Yeah.
Very
And how about, like I heard, they will give you the kindergarten or daycare, they will give them a money when you like when you hire the employees, they will give the salary.
Yes, the wage enhancement.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So the wage enhancement it's a good initiative by the government. It's an amazing initiative by the government to retain ECEs. So right now we are at $6 on top of the current
salary you pay.
And $6 top up, or $6 for wage enhancement. So 4 years ago, it was $2 extra, which was a big deal. Then it became to $4, and then it became $6. And from what I know from the ECEBC, or Early Child Educators, their goal is to increase the income or the wage of an ECE to at least $30 per hour. So that's where the initiative is coming from. So $30 is just the base of, obviously, if you have infant and toddler certifications, special needs certifications. Actually now the government is paying you $3,000 per year if you have both certifications, and $2,000 only if you have one of them.
Do you accept the special needs?
I do. Yes.
Okay.
Yes. The following, he has the child has left since September because they've aged out, but we do accept children with special needs. I myself think it's very important that ECEs who come into this space nowadays be made aware of the CCRR, Child Care Resource and Referral. So because nowadays there's a lot of families with children with special needs that need inclusive daycares, and so that is also something that if you have that capability, if you have that knowledge, it's sort of also an edge for you to be accepting children with diverse abilities.
And I heard if you want to expand or you want to have a bigger size daycare, and also if you go to the certain area, like which the government needs the people open a daycare there, because at that place they have a huge needs, but there's less daycares there, and the government will encourage you open a daycare there, and they will support you to open daycare. Have you heard about that? They will probably 3 million, like they help you to
I'm
open
not
it.
quite familiar with it because it is something that is very new. I've seen the emails about it just a couple of months ago, and it is a big amount. It is a great initiative, it's also nice because where there's a need, people go, right? But I am finding that sometimes some of these places, there's not much families yet, but that's also maybe a positive thing if you are just doing an in-home daycare, because you only need 8 children to fill up the spaces instead of 20, 25 spaces to do so.
Do you have any the dream, like you already told me you have a dream, you want to have a bigger daycare, so that's your dream. Do you have any other dreams and plan for your future?
For my own future? Well, I'm expecting a second one.
That's good.
So everything is catered around childcare or children, but my own, probably another dream would be to have a college for ECEs, because again, there's such a big need, and the colleges that I work with currently, it's always overflowing with students. Where I used to go to school, Capilano University, where I graduated my degree from, I remember there's a lot of students wanting to get into one class, and sometimes you would have to be waitlisted, and so as an instructor as
Yeah,
well.
yeah.
Not just an ECE, but also as an ECE instructor. It is part of my dream to potentially open up a college.
Hopefully in future we can collaborate
Yes,
together.
absolutely. Yeah. And to help other people get to know more about the ECE
Yes.
world. That
Yeah.
it's not scary. It's not.
That's true.
It is tiring. You do need a lot of patience for it, but it is something that is very rewarding in the
Yeah,
long
it
run.
takes time. Like you
Yes.
already spent your time on this
Yes.
industry for
Yes.
over 5 years. Right?
Exactly.
Yeah. Thank you for
Thank
your
you.
interview.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
sharing your experience to us.
Thank you for being here.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's my pleasure for sure.
Yeah.
Yes.